My name is Beth Smith, and I am a clinical supervisor. I would be the site supervisor for the practicum, and along with the executive director of the agency called Through the Looking Glass. And the part that I supervise and the work under which the practicum would happen is our early Head Start program within Through the Looking Glass. Through the Looking Glass serves families with children under 18 as an agency, or under 22, I would say. But this particular project is an early Head Start project that serves families, infants and toddlers, birth to 3, and their parents. And Through the Looking Glass specializes in working with parents and children with disabilities, although that's not exclusively our population. But because that's our specialty, we have developed a very non-pathologizing kind of philosophy, and really work with people around a very, very strength-based kind of way of working, and focused on adaptation rather than a deficit model. Yeah. So, and we find that that's useful for everyone, whether they have an identified disability or not. Well, typically we work with people in home, and during the pandemic has been, of course, rather unique. And when the pandemic first started, we went to totally remote, and we served people on Zoom and phone. And now, depending on people's vaccination status or the vaccination status of the whole household and the comfort level of the clinician trainee, we work with people either remotely on Zoom or in person when that's workable. Sometimes, even if we can't go to someone's home, we'll meet with them in a park or on their backyard or on their front porch, and see families rather than in the office or in like a clinic based. We work with people in their homes or Zoom to them in their homes. And we like to say that the client is the relationship between the parent and the child, or children. So sessions are about hearing parents talk about what it's like to be a parent, and places where they need support, and sometimes doing psychoeducation or normalizing the stresses of parenting, especially for people who are new parents. We work with pregnant parents also, so we help them prepare for the birth of the baby or being a parent. And often we have play that's developmentally appropriate for the age of the children. And so we do a lot of playing during our sessions. And what I like to say is helping parents have what they need to fall in love with their children, and to focus on the joy and the pleasure of being a parent. And one of the duties too is to people learn a lot at this practicum about developmentally appropriate milestones. So people learn to assess the developmental progress of a child, which is really useful information for people to know who want to work with small children as a therapist, to know where is a place where trauma is showing up and where is there a developmental lag that the child might need a boost, or where is there a place where the child might not be neurotypical and might be showing signs of autistic spectrum disorder or trouble with speech or something such as that. And there's a lot, one of the benefits of this practicum site is there's a lot of internal resource for psychotherapists to learn about development, because we have OTs and speech specialists who help us learn a lot about what is going on with the children developmentally, as well as psychologically. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people refer themselves, but more often than not, someone else refers, such as the pediatrician or the regional center case manager or a foster care social worker will refer and say, we think this parent could really use some support. And as part of the assessment, we get, of course, when we first go in, we're having conversations about whoever referred you, what kind of help would you like from us? And what would be useful? A lot of people find it's really helpful to have a place to talk about what it's like to be a mom or a dad, and what kinds of things are hard, and what kinds of things would help you be able to enjoy your family life more. So we really use the input from the family to be able to formulate our treatment plan. It depends on how many hours they want. Often it depends on the program. Some programs want people to have a 50% time caseload, and a 50% time caseload is six or seven children. And that might be 5 families, because sometimes there'll be 2 clients in the same family or 3 clients in the same family. There might be 2 children under 3, or a pregnant mom and a older toddler, let's say. But a typical caseload is half would be 6 or 7, and a full-time caseload is 12 or 13 children or clients. Yeah. And it's a paid, it's very important. I want you to highlight this. It's a paid practicum. Everybody gets an hour of individual supervision a week, and then we have group supervision every week too. And the team of home visitors, that's what it's called under Early Head Start Purview. The team is 4. Right now we have 5 because we have some part-time people, but 4 to 6 people, and they all do the same thing. And it's one of the favorite parts of this site for people. It's a very tight group. It's very supportive. The tone is very supportive. We sort of have a parallel process model, and I call it nurturing the nurturer, So we learn how to nurture each other in supervision, and the tone it's really a value of mine that the tone of supervision is very nurturing. And so supervision happens in individual and in group. There's a staff meeting every week, full staff meeting, which is really training dense. There's a lot of presentation in staff meeting. And we always have a full class of PsyD trainees each year too. We, through the Looking class, has been doing has been a doctoral site for many, many years. And they have set up didactic training for all the trainees, including the master's level trainees now. So there's a tremendous amount of specialization expertise in the agency, and didactic is a place where there's a calendar and where internal folks come and talk about different specialties. And it's really, really instructive. So there's staff, there's supervision, and there's a lot of training available. And in addition to weekly training, the fellow staff people are available for consultation. So you might be able to have a consultation with an OT, their developmental director, who's a specialist in sensory integration, or someone else who's a specialist in speech development, or one of my specialties is medical trauma for children or parents who've been through a lot of surgery or hospitalization or painful or intrusive medical treatment. Another area of specialty that Through the Looking class has is adaptive baby care. So we work with parents who are blind, or parents who use wheelchairs, or parents who are deaf, and we help develop very customized, very individualized, adapted strategies for those parents to parent fully with adaptive equipment, or adaptive strategies, in order to both connect with their children fully without pain or struggle, but also be able to do parenting tasks like diapering, or helping their child get into the crib with a crib that goes open side to side rather than over the top, or bathing in a special like car seat looking thing that goes in the bathtub. There's all kinds of really beautiful things that if people want to see more about that, there's videos and more information about that on Through the Looking Glasses website. I think there are those in addition to supervision, those other 2 times every week when training is available, the didactic training and the staff meeting training. And then there's I see training as, whenever people need it, there's consultation often, either mostly by people who are on staff already, but I also have a lot of collegial relationships with people who are specialists in domestic violence, and other people who are specialists in immigration trauma. We've been around a long time and have a lot of resources related to consultation. I think if you are going to work with people in their homes, parents who are pretty stressed out, and yet this is such a fruitful time when their children are small or when they're pregnant, that you need to be able to have a down-to-earth style that helps people meets people where they are, helps people feel comfortable with who they are and not feel judged. A lot of times, we spend a lot of time engage with the engagement process, because as I say, often parents aren't the ones referring themselves or referring their infant, other people are referring them. But if folks can stay pretty relaxed, you can actually go pretty deep, if people are willing to do engagement. And I also think people have to be comfortable in the beginning with a certain amount of case management in that engagement process. That really does help people feel safe. If the clinician is willing to help them find diapers and help them find food in the very beginning, it builds safety. If people tend to go, wait a second, or label that as not therapy, and tend to feel impatient, I can help them with that in supervision. But if folks think that they can relax into that process, it actually lends itself to lots of safety for the therapeutic process. I mean, it certainly helps if people have some experience with infants and toddlers, preferably their own, because they're very empathetic with what it's like to be the parent of an infant or toddler. But I don't think that's a requirement. But if people have some experience in their families or in with themselves about what it's like to be pregnant and what it's like to have a baby, personal experience with disability in their families with themselves is helpful, but again, not required. I think that pursuing part, if people have not had experience with therapy and maybe they're a different ethnicity from the therapist, it takes a little bit of, wait a second, who are you and what is this anyway? And some cancellations in the very, very beginning. But if folks can keep pursuing, it's part of the process. It can feel in the very beginning like working with court mandated people who are like, I'm not sure I want to do this. And yet, if people can relaxedly hang with it, it again leads to even more deep relationship, because you tell people, you end up communicating to your clients, you are worth it. You are important enough for me to want to work with you. And it actually gives the therapist an opportunity to work on their own attachment issues, their own feelings about being rejected, their own feelings about what it was like for them as a young one in their own families of origin. It's a very rich opportunity, really. The countertransference opportunities are quite rich. Yeah. People, I think we've had a long history of people very, very much enjoying this as a practicum site. We've hired a number of CIS students, graduates in the past. And I'm hoping to have some students from CIIS again. Yeah. Yeah. I went to CIS myself for a couple of years for the PsyD in the PsyD program. And I stopped because the loan I was having to accrue was scaring me so much. And I have a lot of appreciation and respect for your school. Yeah. What else would I want people to know? I think, I mean, I have integral process myself. I'm a meditator, and I loved that part of my education at CIS while I was there. And we often meditate in group supervision, and find whatever integral process helps people really works when you're working with attachment. And I think especially when you're working with the amount of collective trauma that people have right now.